This is Progressive Goshen, where we talk with community leaders about the issues facing the greater Goshen community, social, political, and educational. Welcome to Progressive Goshen. I'm your host, Kadie Spoor, and today I'm sitting with Dr. Beth Martin Birky, who is the Title IX Deputy Coordinator at Goshen College. The college community recognizes Beth as one of the strongest advocates for students on the Goshen College campus. And Beth, to give us some perspective, talk about how the college dating environment has changed from when you were an undergraduate student to today.
Okay. Well, I was a Goshen College student between 1979 and 1983. So a lot of things have changed. For me, probably what stands out as the biggest difference would be points of access. So how we have connection with each other. And so through social media, through both in terms of apps that you can use to find people, as well as how you communicate and relate to each other. It seems to me that those would be probably the biggest changes. My own guess is that a lot of the dynamics that exist today existed back in 79 to 83. We just probably had different names for them or had different perceptions of them. But I think that sort of access and communication are probably the biggest ones.
So how does your role as Title IX Deputy Coordinator allow you to advocate for the variety of student groups that are present on the Goshen College campus?
Well, in terms of being an advocate, I now have more access to where the conversations are happening in terms of resources that are provided or addressing issues that come up. When I was a faculty member, I often did more direct communication on behalf of a student or a particular situation. But I used to be a confidential advocate, and now I pretty much would need to help people get directly to reporting when they come to me, although I can clearly talk to them about general situations and options and things like that.
And I understand that this role as Title IX Deputy Coordinator has also led you to aid in the campus's bystander education program called PIN. Mm-hmm. And for the benefit of those listening that don't know exactly what PIN is, can you kind of talk about what PIN does and what the program entails?
Yeah. So PIN stands for Prevention Intervention Network, and it's a program for bystander education. Came out of the University of New Hampshire. PIN then is a group of students who have signed on to learn about the dynamics of sexual assault and the strategies for intervening. The idea is that we all see a lot of situations where we could intervene before something actually happens. Whether it's through comments that we make, through distracting someone, through providing some direct support. And so these are a group of students then who are willing to learn this material, go through a curriculum and a PowerPoint and help prepare to basically teach that to other students. And so it's a program that started 4 years ago, and so now we've had 4 years of all new students having that exposure.
You're listening to Progressive Goshen, produced by 91.1 The Globe. You are tuned into Progressive Goshen. My name is Kadie Spoor, and right now I'm sitting with Dr. Beth Martin Birky, who is the Title IX Deputy Coordinator at Goshen College and is a faculty advocate for PIN, which is the Bystander Education Program at Goshen College. And PIN, as you said, stands for Prevention Intervention Network. So, Beth, one of the reasons I'm glad that you agreed to meet with me today is because February is Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month. For those who are listening, for people that are in relationships where there may be violence present, what options do they have?
I think the biggest one would be to just simply go online. The Domestic Violence Network, DVN, is a national organization, and they have a hotline that's available, and that would be one place. You can always call 911, call emergency services to come assist. The local YWCA, both in Elkhart County and in St. Joseph County, are wonderful resources, and they have educational things as well as counseling. The YWCA also runs a shelter in Elkhart, and so if you look up Elkhart County YWCA, you'll see a number to call, and they can give you directions to that house for support.
So in the event now of dating violence on campus, how do these two roles of you being a faculty advocate for PIN and also being the Title IX Deputy Coordinator allow you to help students overcome the repercussions of dating violence?
Yeah, that's a really interesting distinction because on the one hand with PIN, I think we can do even more to help educate about the signs of dating violence and the ways that you can intervene. One of the problems that I have seen is that people don't recognize the warning signs in a relationship. things become so normalized, and issues of like control or judgment, physical force or verbal abuse, those things kind of build incrementally. And the difficult part about that is that we often see marriage relationships as well as close friendships, we see those as private, and we're very hesitant to intervene in other people's business. So in many cases, we tend to just say, I'm going to extend an offer, but if they don't want it, there's nothing I can do. So that, I think on the prevention one, it's just learn a little more about how to be critical of patterns that you see. I would have to say that just in the last few years of working with this, that I really think people should trust their gut. They should trust their instincts. If a relationship doesn't feel right, if an encounter didn't feel okay, supportive, positive to you, I think you should talk to somebody. I think you should find out. At least be able to tell somebody how you're feeling and think through what your options are. There are things you can do without ever even letting the other person know that you're getting support, but there are also things that we can do to help protect you.
You're listening to Progressive Goshen, produced by 91.1 The Globe. You're listening to Progressive Goshen, and I'm sitting with today Beth Martin Birky. She is involved with PIN, which is the campus's bystander education program at Goshen College, and the Title IX deputy coordinator. Beth, one of the things that you just said was you were talking about the warning signs in honor of February being Dating Violence Awareness Month. And so we use the word violence, but what does that really mean? Because we often think of it as physical altercations, but does it have to get to that point in order to be considered violence?
No, definitely not. And I'd encourage people to look online for some of the resources. So for instance, Domestic Violence Network has a lot of great resources, but there's like a power and control wheel. In this context, it just says physical abuse is only one part of a whole system of abusive behavior. And so it does everything from intimidation to emotional abuse, like insults, saying you're crazy, maybe reinforcing an addiction, or ridiculing or forbidding your movement. Another one would be isolating, controlling what you do, where you go, who you hang out with, denying that they did something or blaming you for something that happens. One that we don't often talk about is economic abuse, and it seems like that may not be as common in dating violence as it is in a marriage. That's where you'd restrict access to funds or withhold information. But it could also be preventing somebody from keeping a job or preventing somebody from pursuing resources and things like that.
Well, thanks so much, Beth. I have one more question, and it's for anybody who may be listening right now that may know someone who's experiencing violence, not necessarily themselves, but a friend. What are some of the resources that they can share?
Well, I think one is just making sure somebody knows you're there and care for them, and that you believe what they say about their experience. So I think it's really important not to name somebody else's experience, like, hey, I think this is an abusive relationship. Rather, just say, it seems like you're unhappy with, or it seems like there's tension with. Can you tell me about that? But also making sure people always know that they have resources. I think that isolation and that feeling of embarrassment that you can't tell anybody you're going through this, I think that's one of the biggest hurdles. So I'd encourage people to reach out for help. That's a big ask. And so I would also just say there's a lot of information online. And do reach out. Like YWCA has agreed to do confidential counseling with any of our students at any time. And so they can always call them directly, but we can also get them over there. If somebody doesn't have a car, we can get them help. The other piece is knowing when to report what you see. So if something's going on and it does not look right and it's making you uncomfortable, chances are it's making the people involved in the relationship uncomfortable as well. But there's times when you need to tell the person in authority and responsibility above you. You just need to say, I'm really worried about this situation. Again, it's not about punishment or stopping. It's about getting people the support that they need to live safely.
Well, thanks so much again for sitting down with me today, Beth. This is Progressive Goshen. I'm your host, Kadie Spoor, and today I sat down with Dr. Beth Martin Birky, the Title IX Deputy Coordinator at Goshen College and a faculty advocate for the bystander education program called PIN. Tune in to Progressive Goshen next month as I have lunch with Goshen Mayor Jeremy Stutzman. He is running for re-election, and you can find out more Progressive Goshen information online at globeradio.org.